for, but most of the time,
I don't know if this is true.
ooh,
That's right. I'll save it.
ooh,
Oh,
oh, oh,
oh,
oh, oh.
Daddy Reynolds is at it again.
What's Danny Reynolds? What?
We got to save it for the podcast,
I'm
mate.
recording. I'm recording. I'm
Oh,
ready
okay.
to record.
So I was just going because I wanted to
Get me.
send you this photo based on the Transformers that we're going to talk about in this episode,
hang
and
on.
it's got here Ryan Reynolds, or as we call him, Big Papa Reynolds,
Big Daddy Reynolds. Yeah.
to co-produce Biker Mice from Mars series.
I
I don't care, man. That is the greatest thing ever.
Dorks Down Under.
Oh, yeah, I tell you what, the other day, because funnily enough, on my TikTok algorithm at the moment, there's been I've been getting 80s cartoon intros sort of thing, which is great.
Really?
It's a great little throw. You know, it's like you open it up and you're like, oh, I miss this cartoon. But one of them I thought the other day that would be interested to see come back either as an animation or no doubt they would want to butcher it and make it live CGI is Bucky O'Hare. I would really want to see that. You must know Bucky O'Hare. It's Bucky, Captain Bucky O'Hare.
Oh, yes. That was ran for one season, really?
It ran for one season. That's it. It had a video game. It had everything. It was so good.
Yeah,
but they said the ratings weren't great, weren't good enough for it. And I'm like, who did they choose? I thought it was such a good show. I loved it. But, you know. Oh.
Yeah, I'm just thinking if... I do remember it because I remember the game first. And I think I played it at Paul and Nick's
There was an arcade. I first played the game. It was an arcade game. It was at Silith Arcade. Oh my god, I feel so old now. I was at Silith Arcade, and it was there, and I played it, and I thought just the music on the arcade alone was like, oh my god, this is cool. And then I found out there was a cartoon, and I thought, oh, I've got to watch it. And I swear,
that's how I was.
And I swear to God, you know, when you're as a kid, you feel like, I mean, obviously, I must have been watching the same episodes over and over again, but I felt like there was about 50 goddamn episodes. Like 50 of them.
Yeah.
And then I became an adult, and I wanted to, and I think it was like when he was at uni, and I thought, oh, I want to watch it again. And then you realise there's like 8 episodes. It was something really tragic. There was only like...
Is that what it was?
Yeah, there was only like 8 or... There was like a really small number of episodes, and I'm like, nah. That I remember months of watching it. I remember months of it being on. I'll say it, but it was just like, I must have been rewatching episode after episode. But yeah, I was just like,
oh my god.
But Bucky O'Hare, I was just like, I want Bucky O'Hare. Give me Bucky O'Hare back.
Yeah. I was going to say, so pretty much it's come up on my Facebook, which I think Facebook now knows me and knows how bad I like stupid shit. So it has Daddy Reynolds, Biker Mice from Mars series. And then underneath that, it does say that Florida scientists are afraid that sharks might be feasting on cocaine that is dumped off the coast of Florida by drug runners. And in my head, all I can think of is cocaine shark. But then let's step it up and have Sharknado 6, Cocaine Sharknado. No?
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Dogs Down Under, the podcast where you will never find a more unique sense of wording, which is Dogs Down and Under. Anyway, we are in season 2, episode 26.
We'll go 26.
26. I am joined, obviously, by my beautiful co-host, Dez, who's over in Australia.
Yes, just for something different.
Yes, and I am Jordan. I'm the lovely UK boy who now lives and resides in New Zealand. And today we are going to be discussing possibly the greatest Transformers movie produced and made. Of course, we're talking about the 1985 cartoon version, because this pile of nonsense. You made me watch.
When he says great, it's kind of like great in regards to Tokyo Drift being the #1 Fast and Furious movie, just FYI.
Oh, honest to God, I want to rant about this movie so hard. So we are going to be discussing today, ladies and gentlemen, the new Transformers movie.
Well, I'm going to send you a trailer for another movie that does sound like it's going to be amazing. And I would say just go to Facebook. This is the poster for a
Facebook.
I'm gonna go with maybe Filipino.
What is this?
I'm gonna go with possibly Filipino. I don't know, but this is
this is
Jordan.
hot.
Jordan,
Oh
if
my
Jordan's
god.
editing today,
I am
he
editing.
will
Oh
put it
my
up.
god.
He will put it up on the screen. But this is the synopsis,
What hot
and
mess is this?
it's called Transmuters. So not Transformers, Transmuters. And I was like, Jordan, we need to watch this. So set in December
we do not.
2021 is the story of this dude, an ex-military general who leads a ragtag group of survivors in the Philippines, against the insect-like invasion known as Bugalong, meaning lotus. I'm going to go with that.
Okay.
Because of this enormous threat, they pretty much get Transformers. And I won't lie, it's currently downloading.
Oh my god, this I mean, Des, I understand that you have a thing for truly god awful movies, but this just on the poster alone looks like hot garbage.
Hey man, like seriously, put this next to the Transformers one, and to be fair, I think it's an even bet on which one's going to be worse.
Oh man, yeah, okay, I will possibly give you that. Yeah, I mean, yeah, God.
It does look like we've got some kind of Optimus Prime kind of character stepping on Bumblebee, which is kind of bizarre.
Yeah,
and then 2 Filipino, 1 guy, 1 girl. Right underneath. It is just
it's going to be interesting. Yeah, okay. Well, I'm sure you no doubt will be raving next week. Oh. Next week.
Maybe not next week.
Oh my god, you need to watch. I'm like, no.
I've got a bit on this week, but that being said, like, I don't know how your week's been, but mine has literally just been like watching movies. So it's been weird. So I've been trying to get to bed a little bit early, which means that by the time my housemate goes to bed and I'm in bed, it's normally about 8:30, and then I get bored and then I watch movies. So this week alone, I have watched a ridiculous amount of movies. So I've watched Flash. I've watched
it's on the list. I promise I will watch it this week. Okay, I promise.
Yeah, so Flash, Black Adam. I rewatched Transformers. I watched Guardians of the Galaxy. I watched what was it, The Machine, which we have spoken about, which we'd spoken about before it.
I've already said to the wife that if it's on the plane, I will watch it, because the one link I had was bad, and I don't have a torrent and stuff like that. So I was like, I will watch it if it's on the plane. So it's bound to be now. It's been out so long, it should be on the plane for me.
I watched, and then I went into a few of the bad movies where I watched Super Volcano, which is an actress who you may recognize from back in the 80s, but now she's had so much plastic surgery that her entire face has changed.
Madonna?
But she's playing like a scientist that is doing some kind of volcano things in Hawaii that blows up, that they eventually manage to funnel the lava through one thing, and then halfway through the movie, you're like, so it's ended. So the big things erupted, and then they're like, oh, actually, we've got drills in the lava flow, and because of that, it's going to blow up the entire world. And literally their answer is, oh, I've got giant tanks of antifreeze. Let's just pour that into it and it will stop it. Legitimately, that was what it was. But then the problem was, and then to get the other half of the movie, it was literally like, oh no, the antifreeze is broken. I don't know what it is, eh? And then they go from Hawaii and then they drive up to this thingo in these suits that kind of look like they're just like the world's most ill-fitting wrestling head to toe, like gold dust style things. And they're like, oh my God. And there's this giant vat solo of thingo, and they're looking around, and then they find 2 plugs that aren't plugged in, and they literally plug it at the last minute just enough to let the antifreeze go. And I'm like, oh my God, that was horrible. And then the last one that I watched was last night, which is called The Flood. So there's a flood that's like in Louisiana, like Hurricane Katrina, and pretty much there's 6 or 7 inmates, and they're getting stuck in the rain, so they pull into this undermanned cop shop, of course, because now with movies, let's just film it all in one building so we don't have to pay much money. They drive in, and somehow giant gators come through their grates and start eating them and picking them off one by one as the flood water flies. Okay. But it has like Casper Van Diem in it. So I was like, this could be good. I'm like, I like Casper Van Dien from obviously Starship Troopers and stuff. And
Yeah,
he
okay.
gave the performance of his
Yeah,
life,
yeah.
and it was 10 shades of horrible. Like to the point where the gators just kind of eat them and they don't do anything. And then at the end, they're just like, there's a gas cylinder, randomly a massive gas cylinder on the second or third floor of this building, of this cop shop. And she has one shot left in the shotgun and somehow shoots it. And somehow she's able to hide behind a wall. But then when you see it, the first and second floor blow out through the back. But somehow this wall saves her ass and she kills the gators. And then they go off on jet skis in the flooded Louisiana. It was good. Can't lie. It was good.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get back on track of this episode, God forbid, because this sounds mind-numbing. Are you kidding me? No, absolutely not.
No, but I'm saying, you know what something is funny, though?
What?
It's got a 6.4 rating on IMDb.
Oh, my God. That's so bad.
And I'm like, what?
Oh, my
So
God.
it somehow has a 6.4 rating. So let's have a look. I'm trying to think, because I remember, I'm pretty sure it beat Transformers. Yeah, Transformers has a 6.4 as well.
Okay. Well, the new one.
Oh, the new one.
Yeah,
the one that Jordan loves. And then I think the Flash was also close. Oh no, the Flash has 7. It's just jumped up. Okay. But when I looked at it, it was like 6.6.
I am looking forward to watching the Flash movie, but I'm also terrified. But anyway, back on track. So we're going to discuss Transformers: Rise of the Beast. Now, I want to preface this episode by saying that I may be a bit of a Transformers fanatic. I love Transformers. I grew up in the early 90s, obviously, and it was being, obviously, reruns were everywhere. And I am very much invested. In fact, probably my next tattoo will be something Transformer-ish. I've already kind of decided on that.
I watch the Transformers movies at the movies for my 4th birthday.
Yeah, I mean, I about to say as I've said in previous podcasts, the original animated movie is my favorite movie of all time. I tend to watch it every year. I'm pretty sure I could recite it word for word. I think if I just start playing the album, I could probably tell you which points the song kicks in the movie and maybe do dialogue. It's that bad. Okay, so it's safe to say,
there's that and Debbie Does Dallas.
I have watched a lot of the other animation series with Transformers. Obviously, I watched all the original Gen 1 and some of the Gen 2. And then when it went into the 3rd generation, which was the Takara one, I got out of it. I got back into it with, funnily enough, with Beast. What was it? Beast Wars?
Beast Wars? Something like
that. It was Beast Wars, and there was the prequel one. But Beast Wars brought me back in, and I kind of watched the pre-series for Beast Wars as well. I can't remember what it was called now. So I ended up watching that. But then there was also Transformers Armada. There's I loved on the Xbox that video game that came out, which was absolutely immense, and it was like basically the War of Cybertron, and you were playing it through as the Autobots, and it was fucking amazing.
I played that.
It was really good. But safe to say, I have been invested in the Transformers franchise from early on, and I love the Transformers franchise. When Michael Bay announced what he was doing, I was super excited. I thought, oh my God, yes. And the first one, I will admit, was good. It was good, especially for a reimagining and bringing it to live action. Was good.
See, I think the first one, and I think the second one wasn't as bad. And then I started to get a little bit of thing. But one thing that I must say though is the most amazing thing about those movies, and still to this day, was the fact that they were able to get these things to transform to actually look like it, and all that started from. Do you remember that? There was an ad where there was, I can't remember, it was a commercial, and they actually had the car transform in this commercial. And then after that, I think it was about 3 or 4 months after that.
It was like a Lexus one or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, or something random.
Yeah. It was a premier car brand. I remember that, and everyone was like, "Hang on, if they could do this for an advert, why can't they do this for a movie?" And everyone was like,
"Yeah." And then Michael Bay went, "Oh, let's have a look." And they spoke to the people, and then they did it. But seeing them transform in real life, I must say, like it's hard because I think obviously Disney is doing a whole heap of live action stuff now. Like all our cartoons seem to be getting changed to live action. So the funny thing about that was,
some far too soon for my liking, but that's fine. It's Disney can do what Disney wants.
I do agree with that, but the one thing is though is, and a lot of them you're like, like it doesn't add anything. Like I'd much rather watch the cartoon. Where I think with this one, as much as I love the cartoons and don't do that, seeing them transform in real life was just awe-inspiring. And I think that's with the first one. Like even if you didn't like the storyline, even if it wasn't that good, just seeing them transform just was like, wow, that's cool.
It was one of those things. So obviously, Michael Bay directed the original first 5, as it's known, and the first one I liked because yes, it was proof of concept. Story wasn't good, but it was there.
Yeah.
It was there. It was all right, and it worked. But then Revenge of the Fallen, I was like.
I think I've seen the 4th one. I don't think I've seen the 5th one. If I'm honest,
then it was Dark of the Moon, and then I literally walked out the theater of Dark of the Moon. I was with my friend who's also a big Transformers fan. He said, "What do you think of it?" I said, "I'm sick of giving Michael Bay my money now." I said that he's lost the plot. And then I watched Age of Extinction, and the last night I didn't go to the movies to watch it. I watched it and I was thank God I didn't go to the movies and watch it because I thought the stories were terrible.
It was weird because it was kind of like the first one seemed to, like, you could have made the first one and wrapped it up there and it would have been a great ending where like Transformers are in there. The second one you're like, okay, cool. The third one I remember thinking, I'm like, yeah, this feels like the end of the trilogy. And then when they came out with the 4th and the 5th, like I remember like when the first one came out, I was like, wow, this is awesome. I'm so excited. Second one, exactly the same. And the third one, I was just like, I might just wait till it comes out. And then I'm like, oh, and a few mates were going and I'm like, all right, I'll go. And I'm like, meh. And when the 4th and the 5th one, I lost interest. For me, it was kind of like at the end of Endgame.
Yeah.
Where I love the Marvel movies, but then when the TV series come out, I'm like, I just can't keep up and it just feels oversaturated and it just like you literally just seem to be trying to print money, but
I mean, most of the TV series. I mean, I'll be honest and upfront. I've only watched the first episode of Secret Invasion, and everyone is raving about it, about how good it is. So I'm looking forward to having that fully available, so I can watch it all through, sort of thing. Because,
that's what I'm going to do.
Because I feel like it's going to be one of those shows I'm going to enjoy, but I'm going to get really mugged off that I can't watch all the episodes in
I must say though,
because that's the thing. I
agree with that.
The only other series I've really enjoyed. Sorry, I've enjoyed 2 of the series. The live action Marvel, the Loki one, which I'm so excited for season 2. Ellie loved season 1. She thought it was so good, and I loved it. And Hawkeye. But the problem is that the only
Hawkeye I want to watch.
The only issue I have with the Hawkeye one is that it should have been just like a movie special just for Disney Plus. It shouldn't have been like a theatrical release, but it should have been here's like a fully 2-hour movie, because that's kind of what it should have been, and it's just like sort of thing. But anyway. But I recommend it.
Yeah, no, Hawkeye was one that I wanted because I love him as a character. But yeah, like the same thing, like I've heard a few people, as you said, rave about Secret War, and I do think I'm going to watch that.
Yeah,
but like you said, I'm just going to wait. Oh, sorry, Secret Invasion. But like you, I think I'm just going to wait. And I think that was the thing. Like watching Ted Lasso made me realize why I love when a series has a start and an end, and you can just watch it all the way through. Which is great for some of the old series, but the problem is obviously if something's new, doing that means that they don't get the ratings at the time, and chances are they're not going to finish it. So there is like this double-edged sword of doing it that way. But that being said, like I know this last week I've gone back and I'm actually downloading legally, of course, a whole heap of old series that I either haven't watched or I missed or I was into at the time, and then I kind of forgot like that or didn't continue watching. So so I've got a few of those downloading as we speak. But like I'm like, it just made me love it. But I must say,
so getting back on topic, so after obviously Michael Bay's run of 5 movies, and I'm pretty sure everyone was like, no, we're done with your nonsense now. Travis Knight took a stab at it the year after with Bumblebee, which is, it's kind of like setting up it was kind of, it wasn't explained whether it was part of the Michael Bay verse or not, but once you watch it, you realize it's not at all. And especially as you get a little insight to what's happening with the war on Cybertron as well, which was immense. immense, and I was so annoyed that it was literally it was like 10 minutes of Cybertron, and that was it. And I'm like, no, just do the entire movie here. Don't go to Earth. We don't care about that bit. It's like, do it here.
we've done that.
It looked so
I
good.
don't think I've actually seen Bumblebee, actually.
Oh, I honestly, God.
Is it worth it?
Bumblebee got me reinvigorated for live action Transformers again.
Really?
Because it was really cool. You got to see Starscream, you got to see some of the other big, you end up seeing Soundwave and some of the other big bads and stuff like that, and it's just like, yes. And it's really cool because I think I was reinvigorated for it because before I watched the Bumblebee movie, I just finished watching, because Netflix released a new Transformers animation series called, I don't think it was Netflix specific, but I think they sponsored it or whatever. It was The War for Cybertron, and then it was split up into 3 arcs. There was Siege, which was entirely focused on Cybertron, and then there was Siege, something, and Siege, Earth-Run, Earth-Rise, or something it was called, like that. It was like 3 separate arcs, and it was really interesting, actually. But, and there was quite a different imagining of the Transformers animation, so it was quite cool. But I watched Bumblebee, and I was really back invested. Apart from when but it explains, like, obviously, this is where the bit of the confusion came from, if Bumblebee is part of the Bayverse or not, because Bumblebee loses his voice box, and of course he then has to learn how to talk with the radio as part of the thing. So it's like, is it part of that or not? Because of course, at the end of the movie, spoilers for anyone who hasn't watched it, but you end up seeing Optimus there. So Optimus is already arrived, and as we know from the Michael Bayverse, Optimus doesn't come to Earth until he gets summoned, sort of thing. So it's kind of like, there's kind of a bit of confusion of whether it was or not, sort of thing.
Okay, I might actually go back and watch that.
I recommend it.
I don't think I've seen it.
Very, very highly recommend it. It was good, and the amount of robots to humans on screen was nice. It was a bit more favoured in terms of more robots.
That's one thing that I've found with these is, like, I get that. For example, you want this human element because your idea is that
we need to relate with the human. We all understand.
But the problem is too, though, is you remember the cartoons? It was 90% robots, and it was that little kid that was able to ride that bike. And
there was Spike. There was Spike and Spike Junior. That was it. They were hardly, and there was generally the Autobots turning up to save humans. That was it. It was hardly ever involving humans, and it was the best bit.
But I feel like that's the problem, though. Is I actually feel like the humans let the movie down. Like, I think it was cool the first 1 or 2 when they're kind of like battling, and you can kind of see them. They're trying to fight, and they're trying to find their place of where they sit and kind of thing. But then after that, maybe have like one throwaway character with them, and then go with the because the whole reason we watch it is Transformers. Yeah. And I'm like, there's just like, especially in this one, there feels way too many human elements. Like for me, I would have that little kid with Jazz, cool, have him maybe, and I think the only other people you really needed was the tribe when they obviously met about halfway through the movie. You know how they kind of had the beast as gods.
So
kind of thing. Like,
So now we're getting into Rise of the Beast now. I was a bit skeptical about how they were going to do it because, as I've said, I'm a big fan of the Transformers franchise, and I like the Maximal versus the Maximals versus, are they the the Terracons. They are the evolution of the Autobots and the Decepticons. So this is set after the Autobots and Decepticons war has finished, and apparently the Autobots won. And basically, the Decepticons became subservient and kind of... basically, the roles reversed. And so, in the original, what happened was a guy, one of the Terracons, rose up against it and found the golden disc of Megatron. Which is interesting. Which is basically Megatron's autobiography. It's his entire autobiography. He talks about... Basically, that's all it does. He just explains everything. And so basically, this guy tries to access it, gets tiny tidbits of information, and realizes that he could effectively reverse the war if he was to able to go back and help Megatron, and so he ends up naming himself Megatronus.
Yes. Well, I was talking to a friend about this, and I'm like, it's kind of weird, hey? He's like, what do you mean? I was like, pretty much what happens is some other Transformer finds a scratched box sets of Michael Bay's 5 movies and pieces, and because it's scratched, it jumps to different things, and then all of a sudden he's like, I'm gonna do this. I'm like, and like he was like, wait, what? He goes, it's scary how accurate that could actually be. I'm like, that's what it feels like. It feels like somebody's found a scratched DVD and it just bounces to all the bits where Megatron's been a badass and none of the other stuff. And I'm like, oh, it's horrible.
Yeah, but basically, and so end up in the original CGI animation of the show. Basically, they end up the Maximals and the Terracons are fighting on a ship. Apparently, they've developed transwarp, which allows them to travel through time. They accidentally crash through and land on Earth in dinosaur times. Although apparently there's also loads of mammals there, which is weird, but let's not get into that. Let's it's cartoons; they can do what they like. And so basically, the Terracons all assume the form of dinosaurs or really highly dangerous predatory things, and the Maximals take on all the mammal roles, sort of thing. And so and basically they go through this entire thing of trying to get the ship fixed and get enough energy to get off thing and get the golden disc back and blah 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 X, Y, and Z.
Yes.
And then they get back and so it's mainly involved around time travel. Now I knew they were going to involve time travel. That was going to be fine, completely fine with it.
We did it. We did it in Indiana Jones.
Yes, well that's on the list to watch as well at some point. But basically, I was going to be interested to see how they were going to pull this off live action because they were involving Unicron off the bat. Now, for anyone who's not aware of who Unicron is, basically, he's the huge, big bad, a massive big bad of the Transformers universe. He's the ultimate evil. Yeah. He is the twin to the Transformers god Primus, who created all Transformer life.
I was going to say, think of him as kind of like Galactus.
Yes, basically, he is Galactus of the Marvel universe. He needs to eat planets because he needs the bioresources to fuel his own thing. Whereas Primus gave his life. Well, it's a bit weird of how it works around Primus. It's been rewritten that many damn times. But basically, Primus ended up converting himself into planet, which is Cybertron. And from that, he gave his spark so he could create life, which then seeded out into the galaxy and blah, 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 X, Y, and Z. And it's all good. But basically, that's one thing I want to pick up on. So they mention Unicron, but they never at one point of this damn movie did they mention Primus, which kind of annoyed me. All they have to do is say thank Primus or something, just something. A little acknowledgement. They just say, oh, and there's Unicron. He's the big bad, he's the devourer of planets. It's like, okay, right. And are we not going to mention how did the Transformers get created at all in any way, shape, or form? No. Let's just ignore that. It was really funny.
To be fair, though, you know probably why.
Why?
Like some Baptist church would have been like, oh my God, you can't say that. Oh, God. That's actually, they're probably more Southern. They're like, yes, you can't say that about my Lord and Savior Jesus. That's not how that happened. That's got to be something crazy.
Yes, because
that goes against the Bible, and I will cancel that. And you'll probably find they probably would.
They probably would. That's probably a good reason why Primus wasn't mentioned.
Or I'm actually, and I also think the reason why none of the beasts in this movie died was because Peter would be after him. Because Peter are also just like Southern Baptist.
Razorwing died. Razorwing died, didn't it?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, Air Razor.
That's true.
Air Razor. I don't want Razorwing.
Air Razor. But yeah, but did you hear about? So just off topic, and because we have been talking about 40K, did you hear about Peter writing to Games Workshop to remove the hair from Space Wolves because having hair depicted on that and having them kill animals for their pelt, and there's all these things that people wrote, and by the sounds of things, Games Workshops went, they're miniatures, like deal with it.
Have Peter lost their goddamn mind? I mean, honestly, don't get me wrong. I know they've been a few sandwiches short of a picnic for a while. Let's be honest. But
yes,
are they kidding? It's a fictitious universe for a start off.
Which is what a lot of people. Which is what GW.
Also, no offense. How did they think the human race got here? to the level of where we have this luxury. If they, you know, without us going hunting and gathering. Oh, God forbid. Oh, Peter.
It is. It's kind of funny, but yeah, because I remember when it was at one of the 40K events I went to, and somebody was saying that, and somebody actually bought in Marines, but had labelled them Space Wolves, and the whole joke was he goes, "Oh, these are the Peter friendly ones." More just because at the time the Space Wolves had like an amazing amount of, like, I think they were just OP as hell, and he didn't have any in time, so he ended up changing it and buying Space Marines.
Yeah.
So literally all he did was pop the heads off and put Space Wolves heads on it. And I'm like, you serious? And he wrote all this theme about how the Space Wolves have been contacted by the intergalactic animal safety thing, Peter, and all this stuff. And he wrote this like 2 pages of theme, and it was so good that we just went, we'll allow it.
No, do. And, that you got to commit the sticking point. That's good.
It was amazing. Like, it was ridiculous. And I'm just like, this can't be a thing. And then we ended up Googling it, and yeah, Peter had actually requested that all animal products be taken off the so-called.
There are no animal products on the so-called products for a start off. Let's be honest. Oh,
yeah.
God.
I'm pretty sure we're gonna see an email soon saying that Peter's now cracked it because poor Razorwing died.
Oh, no, God forbid.
Air Razor.
Yeah, so basically in this movie, so Rise of the Beast is set 10 years after Bumblebee, so it's in the same. We know it's in the same universe, which is good.
Yes.
Basically, the human, I forget his name now. The name, what was his name? Luis? No, it wasn't Luis.
No, Noah Diaz.
Noah Diaz, that's it. So Noah, basically, he's a bit down on his luck. He's trying to find a job, and he's in New York. He's Brooklyn, I believe.
Yeah,
I think
Brooklyn or Queens, I think it was. One of the two.
Yeah, it was one of the two.
They're both boroughs there.
But basically, he ends up going to try and steal the car. Several Autobots have been on the planet, and they're in hiding, sort of thing.
But
and
what's weird, though, is this was set during the 90s.
Yes.
That's the thing that I was like so confused about. So this is set in the 90s. Michael Bay's was set in kind of the nows.
Yes.
But in Michael Bay's, he kind of like Optimus Prime comes in, but then somehow is around in the 90s. I was like, did he just go away on holiday?
This is the reason why there's still confusion of whether these movies are canon to the Bay universe or whether they're their own universe is the thing. This is the reason why there's a bit of confusion. But basically, Noah gets involved because he's trying to hijack Mirage, who's voiced by Pete Davidson. I will actually say, when they announced Pete Davidson being in this movie, I was a bit like, really? Pete Davidson? I will begrudgingly admit he did an amazing job for the character of Mirage.
Really?
I quite liked it.
I didn't like him at all.
I actually thought it wasn't too bad. I thought it was good. It was good to have a bit of a more jarring character, because normally Bumblebee would fill that role, and quite frankly, I'm sick of Bumblebee. He is a favorite.
But Mirage just had that coolness about him. I want like a fast talking like Chris Tucker or somebody like that, like this fast talking black guy. Like that's what I pictured. Like it sounds bad, but for me, Mirage was always this cool kind of character. He just kind of felt that, and I won't lie, I wasn't a fan of of him as Pete Davidson.
All right, well, we'll have contrasting beliefs on that. Okay, but anyway, so basically, Noah gets brought into it. Basically, as far as we can immediately tell, Optimus Prime does not like humans. He does not trust them. He doesn't want, he wants to get off the planet. And basically, we end up finding about the artifact of the transwarp key, which obviously the Primals brought to Earth, and we realize that they brought it to Earth a long time ago and everything else, which is completely fine. Yes. But basically, apparently, it's emitting. Obviously, a fragment gets found and activated. And apparently it's only in the certain spectrum of megahertz of visual acuity that only Transformers can see. Which, listen, even in 90s technology, I'm pretty sure we would have heard that interference over like the phone. Like, you remember when you used to have a phone call coming in and you were listening to something on your speakers and there was that. I'm sure that would have picked up. I'll tell you that right now.
Guaranteed now.
But anyway, not so it was just. I guess. But yeah, so from that, it was obviously, we've also been introduced to, apart from obviously the big bad, which is Unicron, we meet the minion, who's meant to be the other big bad, which is apparently of the Terracons is Scourge. don't know how I feel about making Scourge a Terracon rather than original from Gen 1. That's fine. Yeah, I personally would have preferred it to be Megatronus, but anyway.
Yeah, because that was one thing that I felt like. I'm like, Scourge, because when he came out, I was like, that's not a Decepticon.
Scourge was a Decepticon.
Yeah, but then he became a Transformer.
Scourge was one of the original Starscreams. I think it was Thunderhead, or whichever one died in the original movie. And then when Unicron transformed them all, he became the head of Scourge and the Seekers. Here we go. I say it's all in here. It's all up here somewhere.
In there somewhere.
It's all there somewhere.
I won't lie though. I love Scourge the character, and then obviously later on, I found out that it was voiced by Peter Dinklage. And I was like, that is so cool.
But yeah,
the big bad is the little.
Big bad is the little. That is quite cool. But yeah, so anyway, so we got Scourge, and he's the big bad, and of course he's after the Transwarp Key because Unicron created him. Unicron wants to be able to time travel through time and eat planets. Because even though basically it should have been primarily said that he's looking for Primus, it would have been better in my opinion. But anyway,
yes,
I will say this. I love the way they did Unicron. I think Unicron was done to a T for this movie.
100%. I think they nailed it. I was afraid at first because I like, how many times have we seen the big bad that when they come out, you're just like,
oh yeah, he's like, no, God, why? Yeah, no, I know.
Like some of them like look like they did in the comics or in the cartoons. But all of them just seem like, okay, they look kind of the same, but they just don't have that presence or power or... Like for me, like remember X-Men, I think it's Days Past or whatever it is, and they had Apocalypse. And obviously it was done by Oscar Isaacs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And he was like the big bad, and I'm like, he doesn't
look big. That's the problem. The Apocalypse is meant to be this big, massive mutant, huge.
Yeah, and he just didn't feel it. Like it just, I don't know. It was just like.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean, and I fully agree with that assessment. I didn't mind Oscar Isaac being it, but it wasn't intimidating or imposing enough. It could have. I mean, no offense, could they not get a Channing Tatum in for that role or something? Channing Tatum, Apocalypse, that'd be hilarious.
I don't know. Like it just didn't seem like it was. I don't know. Like they just don't seem big enough, and because I think sometimes like that's why I think obviously with Thanos and stuff, with Thanos did seem like a big bad, but I think it's also because you don't look at him and go, oh my God, that's Josh Brolin. They've changed it just enough. They've given him the size, they've given him that strength and power that makes it go, okay, that was cool. But like, yeah, just, I don't know, this... And that's what I was afraid with Unicron. I'm like, they're just going to make him like a giant robot or something.
I tell you what was really cool for the Unicron, for seeing him, is that if you're an original OG fan, there was a lot of little nods. Like, obviously, you get to see the inside of because obviously Unicron, you only see the outside of him, like the planet, his planet version, which is cool. And I have to say, pretty damn accurate. I'm pretty sure if I go back and watch it again, I might pick out a little thing that's wrong here and there, but look really good. Obviously, when he's talking to his subjects, he brings them in internally, and not only do you get to see Unicron's eyes, which is really cool, and they actually look very much like how you see them in some of the original Gen 1 cartoons. You also 100%. Get to see essentially what Unicron's brain is, and that is a pretty much accurate description from the original cartoons as well. So I was just like, when you just saw those, I was like, I was like, yes! I felt like a little kid. I was just like, oh my God, this is so cool. But anyway, so where were we? So right before we started ranting and raving about how much we love Unicron, it was.
But yeah, I must say it was good, and that's the thing though. There were things in this movie that I think they got very right, from like the voice acting, from a number of different things. I think they got really right. Obviously, Airazor, Michelle Juan, who's just come off obviously Oscar win.
Yes. Great choice.
Amazing. And that's the thing though, and I'm like Ron Perlman as Optimus Primal. I absolutely adored.
Right, I'll tell you what. When they announced that, I was like, okay.
Really?
I was reserved. All right, I was kind of a bit like
Ron Perlman and LL Cool J are my two men that I would switch teams for, because I just think his voice is just so commanding. It has this respect, this depth, this grandeur to it. And I was like, when they said that, I was like, this is amazing. Like, to the point, even when he was talking to Optimus Prime, I was just like, there just feels like there's this seniority to it, which is hard, because obviously Peter Cullen has done the role or done the voice for decades.
Yes.
But there's just something that I just felt like, I was just like, it just had this respect and this grace, and you could see that he was older, that he had this maturity to him, and I'm like, Ron Perlman was perfect.
Yeah,
and I was wrapped with it.
I mean, that's the thing. Obviously, I didn't want Peter Cullen to do both roles. That was fine. But it was just when I initially heard Ron Perlman, I was like, okay, I'll be interested. I want to hear it. And then when I saw the trailer and heard it, I was like, oh yeah, that works. Oh yes, yeah. I'm on board now. It was just initial of, Ron Perlman. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. That was all it was. It wasn't anything against him. Obviously, we had Coleman Domingo for Unicron, because of course we can't have Orson Welles. As much as I would love to have Orson Welles back, although from what I understand now, apparently he was an absolute nightmare for voiceover work.
Oh really?
Oh yeah. Oh, there's an entire thing about how bad he was, and then because I think the Transformers movie was one of his last works, and someone did a thing about how he thought it was pointless. He didn't think it would make a stamp at all or anything like that, and it was just a payday for him. And apparently he was an but it was just
by
like,
the way, ooh. Obviously, speaking of last week's episode with what's his name, Ted Lasso, did you see who plays Wheeljack?
Yes, I did. I couldn't, because when I heard
football
it, I was like,
live.
Football is live, Cristo Fernandez. I was like, when I heard it, I was like, I've heard that voice before. Who's that? And then when he got to the end, I thought, Christian, I thought, hang on, isn't it? And then quickly literally looked at the picture, saw it there, and I was like, yes, my boy. But can I just say the one problem I have with Wheeljack, and the one problem I have with Wheeljack,
yes,
as a character in this movie, not as a character overall, he wasn't the science geeky. The fact that they put him in this drab color of a van, they couldn't make him the car with the side things, just ever so slightly in any way, shape, or form. That's all I wanted.
It was funny though that they gave him glasses, because I'm kind of like, what is the point of having glasses
as a transformer when you've got optical eyes? Yeah, no, exactly. It was funny. It was obviously to make him the nerd, and I get why.
Yeah.
But why couldn't they kind of gear him into the original Gen 1 styling?
Yeah.
Because look at RC. RC was damn near perfect for Gen 1 styling.
Oh, I was so excited for RC.
She was so good. But yeah, so anyway, it was interesting. Anyway, so but yeah, so overall,
one that I did want to see is the giant plane transit. I think it was, or Stratosphere. Obviously done by the amazing person that does Bender, that does the dog from Adventure Time. Joe DiMaggio. John DiMaggio. That's right.
Joe DiMaggio is a very different person.
John DiMaggio. But I've met him in real life. So the first Armageddon they had here, they had him. They had Billy West, who also does like half of Futurama and stuff. And they were staying in the hotel I was working. And because I was working night shifts quite often, because they're American and they didn't have much time here, they would like, we need somewhere like quiet to record, because I was still doing voices there. So I got to talk to them on a personal level. And he is just this good old American boy. Like, he is from New York. He is just this typical New Yorker, just loud and obnoxious and amazing. And as soon as I heard his voice, I was like, that's amazing. The Football is Life I didn't get straight away, but that I was like,
as amazing. I said, I literally just heard the twang, and I'm like, I've heard that. And obviously because we've recently just been binge watching it, and I'm like, I've heard it. Where have I heard that? And then it was just when I looked it up at the end, because I saw it and was like, Christian, let's just double check, pulled it up, and I'm like, oh my god, my boy. But anyway, so basically, obviously, the one takeaway I have for this movie, the best bit, in my opinion, of this movie, was the little ending with Noah. Where there's the secret reveal. So just
FYI, there is going to be a massive spoiler now. So if you haven't seen it,
Well,
Maybe
is
you
it
go
a
forward
spoiler?
or
Is it a spot? Right.
it is.
For
No.
most people, right, most Transformers fanatics are fully aware of this. The fact
Yes,
that the
but
Transformers universe occupies a similar Hasbro universe, which is
yes,
G.I. Joe. Go
yes.
Joes!
I won't lie. I won't lie. That got me excited because I actually didn't hate the first GI Joe movie. It was
Oh,
when they kind of
we talking about?
yeah,
Are we talking about the recent one that
yeah,
the recent the
with
one with
Channing
it
Tatum.
started off with Channing Tatum? Yeah, I,
And then the second one where the first thing they did was kill off Channing Tatum, and I'm like, really? Like that was what you decided to do? And then I guess
yeah.
they had The Rock, so they were like, yeah, we'll just do it with The Rock instead.
Oh,
And I was
yeah.
like,
Yeah, no,
uh,
it. I have to say, I agree with you. The problem I have with the first GI Joe movie, sorry,
mm,
the newer version was, um, it kind of didn't. It was already like, oh, GI Joe's this massive organization already set and all this jazz. It's like, no,
yeah,
no, it's meant to be a highly small. It's small, secret, classified, sort
yeah.
of not this gigantic entire army. It's like that. It kind of didn't work for. I understand why
That
because
was
it's more
the thing though.
relatable. But yeah, it
Yeah, but
was.
I mean, with GI Joe, like you say that, but then the number of characters that
Oh yeah,
were
yeah,
there were just insanity. Like you had everyone from Roadblock to guys that were
yeah.
only good with like snow and different things. Like I remember having the toys as a kid, and
Mm.
like every time you're like, I've got them all. There'd be more that comes out, and you're like, oh my god, like are
Yeah.
you literally just going, this guy's really good at Lego, and it's like this is Block Man or something stupid. Like it just seemed they just seem to keep coming, and I'm like, oh my god.
This
But that
guy's
being
gonna
said,
Lego.
though,
Oh
I
man.
don't know, I don't know.
But
Yeah,
that
he's
yeah.
really
So it was interesting to see that obviously they formally announced that GI Joe is part of the Transformers unit. Great.
yes,
Also the fact that there could be a possible because there was a line of comics. I remember this as a
mm,
kid where there was a big crossover event. And it was the Decepticons. It went with Cobra Commander and all this, and it was huge, and it was really cool looking, and all this jazz.
yeah.
I remember it, and it looked so good. Um, so that would be interesting. I think I would have to see them do probably a GI Joe movie first.
Yeah, I would
See,
love to see GI Joe whether it's reinvented or just come back,
I think yeah,
because I think
it'd
it's
be
such a
rebranded
great
sort of thing. Yeah.
concept. I think there's so many things that you could literally do with it.
Hmm.
The amount of characters, the different things, like even some of the other ones. Like I actually didn't mind the Snake Eyes movie where you dive into
Oh
that
yeah, yeah,
character a little bit more and
yeah.
have a better understanding of that. But they've got such diverse characters that I feel like you could do 30 movies and still
Mm-hmm.
only repeat a few characters here and there. And I did like that. I did, yeah. I don't know, like Pete Davidson for me. I just like
Well, this is the other thing. Pete Davidson's character does die in this movie. Well,
yes,
apparently dies. This is the other big problem I have with this movie, right? Okay, because
yeah,
at the big, what is it? The end of the first act, Bumblebee dies.
yes. Which I won't lie. When that happened, I was like, oh
Oh, I tell you,
really?
I was
Like he's
actually
getting his own
I was quite
movies?
happy with it. I was actually,
Really?
I didn't mind because I'm not a Bumblebee fan. This is the problem. There's one person in this house who's a massive Bumblebee fan, and you can guess who it is. You can guess who it is. It's my son. He thinks he is the bee's knees. I'm like, no, he's not. For a start off, he's the worst. He's the worst
I won't
Autobot.
lie though. I won't lie though. I love him as the little punch buggy, the little
Yeah,
Volkswagen Beetle.
the
It
little
may have a
Volkswagen
smile
Beetle.
and stuff. Like, yeah,
It was good, but yeah, I've never been a fan of Bumblebee because the problem is that Michael Bay started this. He
yeah,
made him the main character, and he's not the main character because everybody
yeah. It did
knows
in the first one. Yeah,
the main character of the entire Autobots is Grimlock, and it should always be because Grimlock is king.
100%.
Hundred
Oh,
percent.
that was funny though. I got the nickname Grimlock at school by Paula Nicolahan, which was kind of hilarious. And it was just because quite often it's just like go do that, and I'd just run in and just do it, and we'd do stupid stuff, and so I got the nickname Grimlock because I was a bit of a like yeah let's do it and just run in and not think. Where still to be fair, still to this day that happens quite a bit.
But
But
yeah,
yeah, it was just kind of funny. But yeah, Grimlock was so good. Like I remember having all the Dinobot like thingos, and every day I kick myself for not keeping them just because they would be worth a small fortune today.
Yeah, I'm about to say I love Grimlock was my favorite. Anyway, so yeah, so that's the only. But yeah, so obviously Bumblebee dies, and they bring his body along well, no, sorry, Stratosphere goes and gets him, I think, or whatever, and then they end
that
up.
was the weirdest bit where
Yeah, but then they end up bringing the body, and then they rest him on because apparently in this one valley in the middle of the jungle, they have sources of pure energon, and
but they
and
can't be activated.
but it can't be activated because it's poor, it needs high amounts of energy. Fine. So you see, oh well, they're going to do this, but they talk about could it reconstitute his thing, and they say no, but they can't do it in this format, and I'm like, hang on, he's died. I thought that when all Transformers died, their spark is meant to go back to the old spark and all, because that's always been brought up, and it's never been sort of, obviously Michael Bay never went into it, but it's kind of the law of Transformers is that when they all go back to the old spark and then they get reborn and blah 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 X, Y, and Z. Fine.
Maybe there's time. Maybe they didn't because they did explain it in the movie. They did actually say that this is where they rest. Obviously, they're dead. So obviously that was the reason why they did it. Yeah. So you kind of go, okay, that makes a little bit of sense. But yes, it does kind of feel a bit weird where they're like, okay, we'll rest him here, this, that, and the other, and so he can be at one with the energy or whatever.
Yeah, and then of course, Lord forbid, the space bridge gets activated. No, the transwarp bridge gets activated, which is apparently a high dose of energy, which then brings Bumblebee back to life, and it's like, oh god.
I don't care because I think his re-entry was just fucking.
Oh yeah, sick. No, don't get me wrong. Did I like
out of stratosphere flying down? Oh yeah, that was a cool scene. I love that scene.
It was good. It was a great scene. It was fabulous. But then obviously Mirage dies, but apparently he dies, and he then becomes a special spacesuit for Noah to fight in. Which was quite good.
Because what happened was he was protecting him, so to protect him, he tried to help and cover him or whatever it was, and then from there he obviously then was able to. I think it wasn't that he died; it was almost like he was like really low on energy and he was dying. So his last breath was to become this mechanical suit kind of.
Yeah, and then we find out, and then obviously at the very end credit scene, Noah's working on the Porsche, which is Mirage, and he's gotten all he's scrapped together all these parts.
Yeah.
And then he manages to basically bring Mirage back to life. Yes. And it's just like, but he just leaves it at that. It's just like, so apparently you need high doses of pure energon to bring Bumblebee back. But apparently,
this guy, he was dying.
Yes, yeah. So we don't, basically it was left open to interpretation of whether Mirage was just in the suit, sort of thing, and they've put the parts back in, and Mirage is there, and But that's the one problem I have with this movie is the fact is that so characters don't die at all. No, you stick them on a pile of energon, and they're back to life. They're back in the fight immediately. Yeah, that's just normal.
Eraser died, so that's.
Just stick her on a pile of energon. She'll be right back. She'll be right as rain. No, I'm no bother at all.
Bridge hasn't done it, and she was infected and stuff. And they're just like, let's just kill her off.
God, it's kind of it was, as I say, it was just the one thing that annoyed me. It's just like
I wish this movie more focused on, rather than the Transformers, on more of the beasts, because I felt like there was such a diverse character things there that just didn't get utilized. Like it felt like they kind of were throwaway characters, and that kind of annoyed me because they were powerful. They had some great backstories based on like the little bit that you did here, and I felt like it was kind of like more just Pete Davidson.
I think the problem is that of course that you open it on their planet and then they're getting away from Unicron. Fine, absolutely no problem.
Yeah,
and then they're gone, and then we're in modern day, and that's it. It's like what? No thing of them landing on Earth. No thing of establish. Not even a quick montage of them saying, "Look, we cannot interfere. We got to stay hidden. We got to, them breaking the key up. They could have done anything, just literally just something for a couple of minutes.
100%.
And but it was just like, no, cut. It's like, okay, fab, great, why? And then suddenly it's just, and then it's, we're in the modern day, and it's just this, and it's all about the Autobots. It's like, we were just talking about a massive planet-sized transformer eating planets. And now we're just looking. It's just like it was really a big jar. It was a bit of sort of like.
And it was like, we'll give you just enough so you kind of understand the story if you haven't seen the cartoons, but otherwise That's all it was, and it felt like this like little throwaway montage.
Oh, yeah.
It was almost like, you know what it felt like? Like I felt like they should have just done what Star Wars does, just do a little bit of story.
Yeah, just have it rolling. Yeah. Dun, 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 dun,
Like
dun.
the Beastmasters found this key, broke it up, this, that, and the other, and
Yeah.
just say it in that chunk of writing, because it would have been just as effective as the little bit of bullshit that they gave us.
Well, this is the other, and I will say, to my opinion, when you think about it, it's a massive plot hole. Okay.
Yes.
Is that Optimus Prime is aware of what a transwarp key is?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Okay, right. He can be aware. How? It's future technology. How the hell is he aware of transwarp keys that apparently can time travel? But he's aware of it, and it's like, it doesn't make any goddamn sense.
Did you just randomly download that or something, or you found that on the scratch CD that you found?
You know, it just kind of, they could have said, even if he didn't say it, it might be an energon power source we can use to get home. Even if he just said that and didn't call it a transwarp key. But no, it's a transwarp key of old. So I hear that they can open space. But it's like, how do you know? It's like, because no offense, they landed back on Earth and stayed there. It's not like they landed on Cybertron in the past and then cracked on. It doesn't make any goddamn sense. And I was like, So yeah,
that was the thing. Like I do feel like, and I said this to a friend. I'm like, it should be Transformers: Rise of the Plot Hole, because it really did feel like that. Like, I know that obviously myself and Jordan know a lot more about Transformers than some people did. Some people didn't grow up with it and stuff. It is a fun watch, but don't just watch it and try to switch your brain off, because if you think about it at all,
say so. Yeah,
there is so many plot holes, and I also think that seeing RC was just amazing.
Yeah, it was really good. I mean, have you heard about the next movie that's coming out at all?
Oh, there's another one.
Now there is. It's apparently it's coming out for 2024. Obviously, I don't know with the strike and everything at the moment. So let's in the air. So it's called Transformers 1. Okay. Oh. Now this is set as a prequel. Before Bumblebee. This is actually set about the origins of Optimus Prime and Megatron and how the war started. So we're actually not getting Optimus Prime. We're getting Orion Pax, who is the original model that Optimus Prime's based on. It's really yes.
Sorry, I just googled it on IMDb, and it says it's the origin story of Cybertron, home of both the Autobots and the Decepticons. The film is said to focus on the relationship between Optimus Prime and Megatron.
Yes,
but they've already got a cast link to it.
Yes, I know.
Have you seen it? So for anybody that hasn't, Chris Hemsworth is Optimus Prime. I'm like, g'day, mate. I'm Optimus Prime. Hey, Bumblebee, get over here. Let's sing some tinnies. Like, the hell?
I mean, I'll be honest. I'm more interested, personally, in the voice of Megatron. I don't
actually know who.
Brian Tree Henry. He's in Atlanta and all this jazz. He's mainly he's done some movie stuff, but he's mainly done a lot of TV work, as far as I'm aware, sort of thing.
Yeah, but I hear a lot of voices and stuff.
But we're getting Scarlett Johansson as Alita 1, Optimus Prime's love interest. That's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to that.
And Keegan Michael Keyes as Bumblebee, who is obviously
Key from Key and Peele as Bumblebee. That's going to be interesting.
That's going to be fun. John Hamm as Sentinel Prime could be cool.
I'm actually, I don't mind that. I think that's going to be really good.
So is Peter McKellen just officially retired?
Peter Cullen has, I believe, Peter Cullen. Yeah, McKellen. I know you keep saying McKellen. It's fine.
It's because it just reminds me of the whiskey, and I'm like,
But Peter Cullen, I believe, has officially retired. I think that he had some. I think he had some
nodules or something.
I think sort of thing. So I think his doctor told him to go easy on it. But I'm sure I'll end up reading up while I'm editing this, going, "Oh, what happened to Peter Cullen?" But but I am very much interested in this movie because, of course, as I said, in Bumblebee, you get the first 10-15 minutes is them on Cybertron and all that jazz, and it looks immense. So basically, we're getting that, but we're getting a whole movie, and we get the origin stories of Optimus Prime, which was done in it was done in the Generation 1 cartoon, because I can't remember who. Someone ends up going back in time by accident, and then they realize they're in the golden era of Cybertron, and then they realize that Orion Pax, and then they try to save Orion Pax and all this jazz, and then realizing, oh, they've just saved Optimus Prime, and it's just like, ooh, cool.
So, do you think this is going to be animated, or is it going to be live action?
I got a feeling this is going to be it's going to be live action. I think
Actually, no. I don't know. It does say on IMDb, animation, action, adventure is what it's been thing as.
Personally, I want basically what I want what we had for the opening shot of Bumblebee, which is 10-15 minutes. I want that in that style. So it's technically you're talking about animation, I suppose. But it's not live action because you're not going to have any humans in it at all. So technically, is it live action if you don't have a human?
I guarantee they're going to bring some fucking humans in somehow. We need to add some characters. And they'll just be they'll be like fucking Neil Armstrong.
Oh my God. I've just realised they've said who's doing Alpha. So Alpha Trion is the guy who ends up turning Orion Pax into Optimus Prime.
Did you not see that?
Lawrence Fishburne, absolute badass. Yes, absolutely.
I thought, because when you glossed over that, I was like, oh, maybe.
I didn't see it. I just missed it. I was like, what? And then I just saw it. As I was scrolling down, my eyes just caught it. And it's like Lawrence Fishburne is Alpha Trion. I was like, yes, boy. Anyway, so yeah, I'm looking forward to this now. That I am actually really looking forward. I can't wait to see a trailer. But I know we're probably get a trailer. So if it's in production, if it's actually in production, then we're talking maybe the end of the year, possibly.
I reckon what they'll do is I'll save it for Comic-Con, which could be mid next year.
No, don't save it for Comic-Con. Nobody likes Comic-Con anymore. No one actually follows Comic-Con anymore.
I would kill that. Still to this day, my dream trip would be to go to San Diego Comic-Con.
I do. I want to go as well. I really want to go, sort of thing. I've said to Elle that because to be fair, me and Elle have talked about an America trip for years. The problem is that we can't do the ultimate America trip because there's things I want to go to that are only on at certain times of the year, and we also want to go to other places at certain times of the year. So it would kind of have to be like miniature road trips where we land and we're going to somewhere and we're gonna do because I want to drive on Route 66. I want to hire a classic muscle car, and drive on Route 66 and end up in Vegas. And I don't want to end up in Vegas in the height of summer because, dear Lord, I see those temperature spikes and
it's
hell no.
As bad. When you're driving though, the car's hot. So I actually drove from LA to Vegas. When I was there, so I worked in Vermont and New England. Then I did like a little tour, which is kind of like a Kentucky tour, but the difference is it was like, I think it was called Trek America, but there's only 8 or 9 of us in this like cool minivan, and it was quite a decent sized minivan. And we drove on Route 66, but we drove in a minivan, so it's not quite as cool. But it's weird, like outside, like when you stop for gas and stuff, you're like, oh my God, it's so hot.
Yeah.
But then when you're actually there, you get to the hotel, you normally stay in the hotel / casino for a bit. And then normally when you go for a walk, it's night. So it's normally 7, 8 o'clock at night or dinner time. And the heat actually isn't too bad. And it feels nice because you're obviously out and you're able to walk. So the heat isn't too bad, but getting there is just like, oh my God. Like if you were in like a topless Mustang or something, you would literally just be red and just be like burnt to a crisp. But the air conditioning is amazing. There's so much out there. Like they even got this. When I was there, they had this thing that sprays mist to cool you down and stuff. But there's so much stuff. Like America, like I've been there, I think 2 or 3 times now, and even then, I'm just like, there's still more stuff that I can see.
Definitely. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that is our breakdown of Transformers: Rise of the Beasts, and pretty much the entire Transformers as a whole, basically.
Yes,
but it was, I have to say, it was an okay movie. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't good. Personally, so far, my favorite is the Bumblebee movie so far.
Yeah.
Until I see this.
I think with this one here, it was a fun watch if you don't think about it too much.
Yeah. No, I agree.
And I think that's probably the best takeaway. Like I like this more than I like a lot of the Michael Bay stuff. And it was a bit of a fun watch, and some of the characters was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I didn't like Pete Davidson. I don't know. I like Pete Davidson in so many other things, but in this it just felt kind of like it was jarring, but not jarring in a good way. It just, for me, it was just like.
I personally like Peter Davison. So, but anyway, we will see what happens. We might get a sequel. We might get a sequel out of this. There is a potential. They did say there is a potential for a sequel to this specifically. But there might be a prior crossover event with the G.I. Joe series, it says, which could be interesting. Anyway, but anyhow, we're going to leave it there, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a great episode, and I have to do the editing this week, so we're going to... So anyway, I'm going to call it right there. So I just want to say a big thank you to everyone who has been following and subscribing. Please make sure you do like and share and everything else. It does help the AI robots overlords know what you are enjoying, because we are a long format podcast. So thank you very much. You can see our beautiful faces on Spotify and YouTube, and we are also available on all other good podcast apps. If we're not, let us know in the comment section, or you can contact us via our TikTok or on our Twitter at Dorks Down Under.
And one thing I will say is, if you did like our Ted Lasso episode and you want us to watch an episode of something, or you want to watch a series, by all means comment, because I'd be interested to see what you guys like. I was going to make the joke to Jordan. I was like, how about we watch One Punch Man?
I love One Punch Man. It's it's awesome. It's amazing.
So according to Netflix, it has 1,031 episodes at roughly 24 minutes each. Is it One Punch Man? I think
you're thinking of One Piece, you muppet.
One Piece. I was going to joke because Jordan
two completely different things.
Oh, sorry. There goes the joke. No, but he told me to pick a series, and he would watch it. One Piece is 1,031 episodes, goes for roughly 24 minutes. So if you were to watch them, it would take you straight 17.18.
Funnily enough, you're talking about One Piece, right? Funnily enough, it popped up on my TikTok the other day that there's actually a website that's dedicated itself to cutting out all the fluff episodes of One Piece, and it's called One Piece. So you can watch every single arc. And they've narrowed it down to like an hour and a half. So it's like miniature movies.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
And it gets rid of... It's been edited so it gets rid of all the filler. All the filler's gone. So if you want to... So basically, because obviously it's such a series now that is obviously... Because you're talking about 1,000 episodes. Who's got time to... I mean, to be fair, I do know one of our listeners who does follow us. Really? He's been going through it with his girlfriend... and they've been watching it, and because they binge watch like 15 episodes. You know, they just go for it, and they've been doing it for nearly a year now. And they are it's been like 6 months, 8 months, something like that, and they are nearly caught up, sort of thing. But I'm like, I haven't got time for that. And then I found about this One Piece thing, and I'm actually like, well, I could maybe try it. But you're talking, we're talking nearly fully 24 hours worth of viewing, sort of thing. So it's not.
To be fair, according to what they said, there's 17 days, and you have to watch it for 24 hours a day. Worth of episodes. That is insane. But I was going to make the joke and be like, I'll pick that episode for Jordan.
But if you want to watch One Punch Man, Des, trust me, I reckon you would actually quite enjoy it. It's so silly. It's so good as an anime.
Damn it, I got the wrong one.
And I think you would. Tell you what, just type it in Google now, One Punch Man, and see what the main character looks like. You'll probably relate.
Is that because he's bald and just hunky as shit?
He's not. That's the best thing. Well, he is. He's bald.
He's bald and he's like really wiry and thin. Like, he doesn't look like a superhero.
It's so honestly, I'm actually going to recommend you watch this, and then we can discuss it. It's so funny. But yeah.
Oh, this is a guy that a friend of mine says that it looks so bad. He goes, you know, there's an anime out there. He's really good. Like, he punches people and stuff. He looks like a cancer victim, like a cancer recoverer. And I'm like, what? And now Googling him, I'm like, I know who he's talking about now, and I'm like, that is horrible.
Oh, it is horrible to say, but yeah, honest to God, it is such a good anime, and the new season's coming out soon, and I can't wait to watch it. But anyway, much love, people. Want to say a big thank you for everyone who's been liking, sharing, subscribing. Thank you for all the new followers. Make sure you leave comments and everything else.
We're coming for you.
Yeah, and make sure you enjoy all our clips and TikToks that I have got lots coming out for Ted Lasso. I got a bit carried away.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine. I can only imagine.
I got so carried away.
Football is live, and football is dead. But football is mainly live.
But anyway, much love, guys. Thank you very much for joining us on this week's episode of Dorks Down Under, episode 26, and join us next time for episode 27. Peace.